Hey, this is Russell, and I work at the video store, the place that we can all go to every week when it's movie night. On days like today, when the store is quiet, I get to watch movies and series and talk about them with my friends that work here. All right, let's do it. Let's open up the shop.
Did you see that thing yesterday on the TV? It was really interesting.
Good morning, guys.
Morning, Russell.
How are you, Graham?
Give me yourself, dude.
Are you good? Are you strong?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Just okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Just the state of the world means everything's okay at best.
It's a dumpster fire. How are you, Perrin?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, man.
I'm first time I'm here with Graeme. I'm
Right.
stoked. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are chums.
Yeah,
Yes.
we've known each other since varsity as well.
Yep.
Same circle as Cole.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it
we all
was-
knew each other.
It was Graham and Cole that brought Perrin in
Yeah.
to the fold, and of course, I consider you now a friend,
Oh, thanks.
a compatriot.
I consider you a friend as well. I
Yay.
love that. Yay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the video store. Thank you for wandering into our video store. We've got ourselves the Clerks episode today. That's just the three of us and you talking about the movies and the series that we're watching at the moment. Then later this week on Thursday is our guest episode, and that's when interesting people pop in to rent something. This week on Thursday, we're going to have the guys from the Universe on Stage pop in.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
Do you guys know about the Universe on
I've
Stage?
heard about
Yes.
it. Yeah.
It is a stage show, really. It's somewhere between like a sort of TED Talk and a stage show that we've been doing at the Bioscope. I'm proud to say we kind of developed it here. And it's gone on to do lots more other things. It's effectively a talk about the universe,
Yes.
but to a beautiful musical score.
Mm.
So it's got this very cinematic.
Very Carl Sagan-esque.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The music was initially literally Hans Zimmer,
Okay.
like interstellar stuff, but then these super talented guys. It's two guys, the musician of which is Yashin. He then started writing his own material,
Oh, cool.
inspired by that Hans Zimmer-esque stuff.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
And Luca is the guy who speaks, and he's this like young dude. He's like our age, and he's got his like PhD in quantum
That's cool.
mechanics and
That's very,
string
very cool.
theory. It's like holy shit. But he's a great dude, and he literally just wandered into the Bioscope once and was like, "Oh, I've been thinking about developing this kind of talk," and he explained it, and I was like, "Jesus, that'd be amazing."
Yeah.
And it just reaffirms something that I've always said, which is that audiences are smart,
Yeah.
especially the Bioscope audience. They seek out the good stuff,
Mm.
and they can, once again, not to say that we screen bad stuff, but, you know, you can see that craving for knowledge.
To be
Yes.
challenged. Yeah.
And that's why documentaries have always done very well at the Bioscope.
Yeah. I
We've
love
got-
a docu.
We've
yeah.
got encounters coming out, and you can just see the appetite to learn.
Right.
And here on like a Friday night or a Saturday night, you got people that want to learn about black holes in the universe, and
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
the paradox. There are these paradoxes of thought.
Yeah.
But it's not sort of overshooting your head. It's for everyone to consume.
Yeah.
It'll
That's-
make you
that's
think.
Good, yeah.
It's cerebral, as we've said. But no, it's great. So we'll get into that. But speaking of the docs and encounters, I'm just going to make a quick announcement
Yes.
for everyone who is browsing the store. Attention all customers, this is to let you know that the Encounters Documentary Film Festival is nearby. It's on its way. It's going to be happening in Cape Town and Johannesburg from the 20th to the 30th of June. And when it comes to Johannesburg, the Bioscope is proud to be one of the venues. All the tickets for the Bioscopes program can be available at thebioscope.co.za. Otherwise, you can go to encounters.co.za. Great documentaries, both local and international. All right.
Rad. I want to mention something before we get going.
Yes.
Did you know our first episode
Yeah.
was uploaded on the 8th of June, 2022,
Oh, wow.
which means our podcast is 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
Oh, muzzles, Oaks. That's cool.
But don't you know, the 8th of June is the Bioscope's birthday.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you do that on purpose?
I don't know whether we did that on purpose.
That's awesome.
I don't know whether I clocked that. No, we
Wow.
opened the bioscope on the 8th of June,
Yeah.
What year?
2010. So
Oh,
we are
wow.
now 14 years old.
Are you? Wow, 2010 only. I
Yeah.
always thought, wow, okay.
June, 8th of June. Like
Well, you say only. That's 14 years
No,
ago.
no, no. Yeah, but 2010 to me is still 4 years ago. You know?
I told someone
Yeah.
the other day, this fun dude, we were having such a great conversation. He could try and convince people that he was the little boy who shouted Kanako in the 2010
The World
in
Cup,
the
yeah.
2010 like campaign. And then I thought, like, how fun would it be to build this whole TV show around that
Yes.
kid? He was like, I was the Kanako
Yeah.
kid.
Do you know what's wild? I actually, we went to varsity. I don't know if you guys. I think she was. Oh yeah, no, you guys were out of varsity by the time we got in there. Do you remember Catherine Hall?
I remember the name.
So she was a cinematographer student at AFTA. She's the Zoom girl from the Mazda adverts. And her mom used to when Cell C was still a thing. I don't know if it still is, but her mom voiced the person who would tell you you're out of airtime. So like she would always, whenever she would phone and it's like you're out of airtime, she's like, "Fuck, I know, mom. You don't need to tell me." But yeah, she was the Zoom girl, and they
What was
put her
the
through varsity.
Zoom ads?
Remember, it was Mazda.
Yeah.
And then the catchphrase was "Zoom Zoom."
Yes.
Oh,
That was
it was like a
her.
whispery.
Yeah, and that
Okay.
paid for varsity.
That's amazing.
Insane. Like,
Yeah.
and she was really cool as well. She
Ja-
still is really cool.
Jake from the band from Short Straw.
Yeah.
He was an extra in like a European car ad that was being shot in South
Okay.
Africa, and something happened or something changed, and eventually he became the lead in this ad where he drove this like Opel car around Cape Town.
Right.
crazy.
That paid for like his gap year trip around the world.
Jeez,
Let's
like,
And he's not even an actor, but he just was the right guy at the right place.
Yeah.
wow, that's crazy, man. Hollywood, hey?
But what were you saying? Sorry, what did you bring up?
That we're 2
That
years
we're
old.
2 years old. I
Yeah.
think that's amazing. And the bioscope, I wanted to say something this past weekend and post about the fact that, hey, we're 14 years old.
Yeah.
But we're just too busy.
Yes.
We just had too much going on.
The bioscope is a teenager. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're getting all adolescent
Yeah,
and,
it's
and complicated.
There's acne,
There's
breaking
more.
voices.
Speaking of which, Inside Out 2 is coming
I'm
out.
so excited.
This coming Friday.
Yeah.
It opens in cinemas, including the bioscope.
Cool.
Yay.
And we've had a bunch of tickets already
Amazing.
sell.
Yeah.
And it looks cool because I think it's a smart idea.
Yeah, that's great.
The first one was so smart, and this
Yeah.
one now looks even smarter.
Yeah.
It's now our main character Riley is a little older, and more emotions
man.
have entered the headquarters.
Yeah.
Yes.
The biggest one, which they're focusing on, is anxiety.
Yeah.
But it's so smart. It's child psychology 101. It's
Yeah, it's crazy how the first one like changed the game for like how teachers teach feelings to children,
Right.
like using the different colors and like, okay, this is anger. Like they would use it as a teaching tool to help kids understand their feelings a little better.
It's
you know?
so
Hey.
smart.
It's
It's
so
so smart.
crazy.
And since the bioscope upgraded and got the DCP, we can now screen these bigger movies.
Yeah.
And I want to, and also since moving to 44 Stanley has been the evolution of the bioscope where we can now do kid stuff.
Yeah.
When we were
Yes.
downtown Joburg,
That's with Harry.
we didn't do kid stuff.
Yeah.
It just wasn't an option.
Yeah, you
Also,
guys are selling out, man.
no,
Yeah.
man. Also, my head was in a different place because I was
Yeah.
like, we're downtown, we're doing more adulty,
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of risky, edgy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting to then see what kids' movies have then been released and which ones the bioscope would take.
Right.
And when I saw Inside Out 2's coming, I was like, that is such a bioscope movie because it's smart.
It's Pixar. It's Pixar and Ghibli they make such great family films because it's hard to make a family film that isn't just kiddie friend, like for kids. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
you actually pointed that out the other day. The
Yeah.
difference between a kids movie and a family movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
is that a whole
That's a good
family
point.
can enjoy it because it's got all the relevant themes that changes as you get older. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, Toy Story, my dad is in his 70s and he loves that movie differently now than he did 15 years ago. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just, it takes a special skill to be able to make films that cater to everyone in the family, depending on their age and stuff like that. I mean, you rewatch Ghibli films from the 80s, they hit differently from when you first watched it 20 years ago.
It's
You know
great.
what I mean?
Yeah. What I
nuts.
love is the internet also commenting on that, going like, I watch Home Alone now, and now I identify with the parents.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Before I was like, oh, kid,
it's-
Home
it's-
Alone, get to do cool shit. Now when you're older, you're like, oh my God,
This kid is a dick.
this kid is a dick. And like,
He's
I
committing
totally-
assault on these men.
I
like
totally
crimes on these
understand
men.
how I could have left him behind.
The second one in particular.
Die Hard for kids.
It really is. The
Yeah.
second one is the biggest dickhead in the world. Jeez, like,
And he
he's got
spends all
like,
that money on the
recorder.
credit card.
Yeah.
Jeez, like, no. Do you know what? Do you know what movie aged terribly? Did you ever watch? I think it was called Paycheck, Blank Check. Did you ever remember
Oh.
Blank Check? Was it?
Yes.
I think it was a Disney movie.
No, I don't think it was a Disney movie, but I remember that movie.
It has aged horribly. So this kid gets a credit card, and it's like
No,
or
it was
a
literally a
checkbook.
blank check.
Yeah.
Someone writes a check, but they didn't put in the amount.
Yeah,
And so then he banks it,
Yeah.
and it's like $1 million or something.
yeah, and he just goes full rain on everything. And there's this scene in particular. There's a woman that he has a crush on in it, and he's like 10, and she's well into her late 20s maybe.
Yeah.
And there's a really creepy scene where everything's done and dusted, where she's like, well, maybe when you're older. And then she gives him a kiss, like on the lips.
What do you mean when everything's done and dusted?
Like when the whole movie wraps up, you know, like,
Okay.
and she's like, hey, maybe when you're older. And then they like kiss. It's really weird.
Well, good news. It's on Disney Plus if you want to watch
There
it.
you go, guys. Get creeped out all over again. That's the one movie Disney have not brushed under the rug, you know?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting creeped out, but in a slightly different way, myself and Perrin and Cole
That's the end of the sentence.
went last week to watch The Watchers,
yeah.
which is now in cinemas. This is a horror film. We can largely put it on that shelf.
Mm-hmm.
This is made by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter.
Right.
Yes.
Her name is?
Drum
Roll, please.
Sorry, I just want to make sure
It's
that
like
I'm saying it
Ishtar or
correctly.
something.
Yeah, it's Ishana. Ishana
Ishana.
Night Shyamalan.
And
Yeah.
she is very young, right?
Yeah, she's as far as I know, she's 22. Like
see.
she's very young.
So let's perhaps put it this way. For a 22-year-old debut,
23.
23, for a 23-year-old debut, it was good. Ish.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it. I spent the first little bit with my fingers over my eyes, just because I'm a ninny. But basically, Back of the Box is our main person,
Yeah.
played by Dakota Fanning, right?
Yeah. First time I've seen her in a
Yeah.
like a lead role in a long time.
In a while.
Yeah.
Is in Ireland for some reason.
Right.
Although she's American, we don't quite know why she's working and living in Ireland.
Right.
Yeah.
She's escaping some issues and some torments, but somehow needs to do a trip, needs to
Okay.
take a bird across the country,
Right.
and for some reason takes a Google Maps trip that takes her into a very dense country forest,
Yeah.
Okay.
where things go haywire. And she finds herself in this haunted forest, so to speak,
Yeah.
where there is this structure and a creepy old lady who says, the door is going to close, get inside.
Right.
And she has to run inside. And when she's inside the structure, she realizes there are other people and that they all have to line up against the one side of the structure.
Right.
That's like a one-way mirror.
That's like a one-way mirror, and they have to stand there for what they call the watchers,
Yeah.
who are going to come
And watch them.
and watch them.
Right.
All right.
Creepy
That's the-
premise. Yeah.
It's a creepy premise. It's the start of what is perhaps an overly convoluted movie.
Yeah.
Or it was a bit... okay, and so then what's revealed is that they're stuck in this warp. They can't really get out
Yeah.
of this forest. There are these big holes that you shouldn't go down,
Yeah.
and that there are these kind of rules that this sort of woman, this older woman, explains.
Yeah.
They've got to kind of stick to.
Right.
I don't want to give too much more away. What do you think, Perrin? What can we sort of talk about? But there was a point where it was kind of scary because you didn't know what the watches were.
Yeah, there was some jump.
There were some jump
at the beginning,
scares.
Yeah,
I was a little like kind of freaked out, as I said.
yeah,
But then there was a point where I was like, oh, I'm not scared anymore.
yeah. My big issue with the movie is that it's just so. I mean, I saw a review mention this, and it's so true. Is it's suspenseless. Like it's there's some suspense and mystery at the beginning, and I love a bit of mystery, but shame it sucks because like M. Night Shyamalan in particular. He hasn't been on his best form. I mean, Sixth Sense and Unbreakable were great movies, and they were smartly written, smartly revealed teasers and
of course the big twists.
the big
especially
twist.
with,
That's his
with
vibe,
Sixth
right?
Sense was the sort of one reveal that I don't think you could really ever do again.
Brilliant. It was spectacular, right? And I mean, even Unbreakable's reveal was good and all that stuff.
Is
It's so good. It's one of the
fantastic.
best
I think his
unofficial
first,
comic book movies ever.
definitely. I
Yeah.
think his first 4 movies are all
Really
good.
phenomenal, especially those two. Jeepers.
The other ones being like The Village, right?
Signs of the Village.
His very
Yeah.
first movie was a comedy.
Yes.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never actually watched
Neither
it.
have I.
I don't want to. I don't know if I want to watch that.
Yeah, but then as you said, over the years he perhaps lost a bit of
He lost that magic, that sauce.
sort of the secret sauce.
the secret sauce, right? So it sucks because it feels like she has inherited that mediocrity lately. Because
well, she's 23, and that's
She's
that's
23,
why I
yeah.
wanted to premise that. That's
Yeah,
why I
shame, I
wanted to
feel bad
start
saying
that.
yeah,
Is that like, oh my God, seasoned filmmakers make cucker movies than that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like,
but the
it was impressive. There was an impressive structure. There was an impressive start, and there was
Yeah.
this impressive world building idea. But yeah, so for me, Graeme, one of the nicest things to perhaps explain at this point was like how you play with the unknown, and when that
Right.
unknown is very scary, and we're going to try and be careful not to give too much away, but
yeah,
I think we might have to in certain shapes or forms.
Okay.
The one thing being that these watches can change shape
yeah.
Okay.
and they can mimic, and so
Yeah.
there was this great play
It's in
on
the
like
trailer that
on you. You then started revealing you don't know who you actually watching,
Right.
or I mean you don't know who is around you, and so like for example, one of the people who's stuck in this house is a woman who's looking for her partner, her husband. Then there's this kind of knock on the door, and it's him, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's him!"
Right.
But they're like, "Don't." The watchers can mimic,
Yes.
so you don't know whether it's him or not, and say something that only I would know.
Yes.
And, so then the later part of the movie plays with that a bit
Okay.
in a somewhat smart way.
Okay.
But there were a couple of things that just got revealed a little too quickly. I don't
too
know,
easily. I think
and too easily,
yeah.
and also little things like the sort of creatures made these kind of alien horror noises. They're like
Nice.
that like clicking noise, and it's like we've heard this.
Yeah.
In Signs. You've heard it in
Yeah,
Signs.
and to the point where I was like, okay, well this ruins it. Like you must give us something different.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're giving us too many of the obvious things that people know are scary.
I think fear of the unknown is scarier. So it could have been very Lovecraftian in terms of that, where like they hold back. We spoke about it afterwards. Yeah, like sometimes I feel like you losing the scariness by showing the monster. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same with sex and lust.
Mm.
If the woman just gets naked straight away, you're like, oh, okay, she's
Yeah.
not as sexy.
Yeah.
And so there is a point where also this character, this old woman, is there to give you exposition. She's there to
lady exposition.
Okay.
so she's there to help you
Sis.
understand this kind of strange premise.
Okay.
But you could argue that she gives you too much.
Right.
Yeah.
And when this woman talks to explain this movie, you're a bit too like on the nose.
Yeah, it's very there are scenes where, because I also hate it in mystery movies or horror movies where people don't stop to explain things in real life, because naturally they would explain, oh, the reason why our skin turns inside out when the clouds come is because of X, Y, and Z. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, or like you we're turning inside out because of the clouds. Oh, that's all I need to know. She would literally stop and be like, oh, by the way, this is X, Y, Z, and apostrophe this and that, and you're like, okay. And then later when she explains more things, you're like, but why didn't you explain that before when you're explaining everything?
Yes.
And we've been here for 3 months, and then all of a sudden also character backstory exposition pisses me off, because then all of a sudden it's like, oh, by the way, I didn't tell you this, but like I've got no legs. Oh wow, I didn't notice. That didn't happen.
It wasn't
but
that.
that's
No,
what it's
it was like
It's
out of
so annoying.
out of nowhere near the end. At one point, there was like a moment for the one character to explain himself. a bit
Okay.
Yeah,
more.
it's like
He said something like,
my dad was a drunk.
my dad was a drunk, and it's like, oh, okay.
And there was nothing that had nothing to do with the price of eggs, because
Right.
the scene had nothing to do with that. So he's like suddenly like, by the way,
So-
my dad is this. It's like,
So
Which you can do. Like, they do that in Signs.
yeah,
Like, they feed you, like, little pieces of information about what happened to his
breadcrums.
wife. Yes.
Breadcrumbs.
emphasis on
Yes.
breadcrumbs. This
Yeah.
was like all of a sudden one
This
just
is like,
piece
have
of
a loaf.
toast,
yeah,
which was like, that meme of the piece of toast just like flopping on the
yeah,
floor.
literally,
It was
like.
literally like that. It was like boom.
And the thing is, like, it was just so, like, it got silly to the point where, like, I remember when it was very clearly transitioning into the third act. Russ turns to me, because I guess we're in third act country now.
Yeah, I said something like, "Welcome to the third act."
Yeah,
No,
and-
because they stuck in this house.
Yeah.
This structure
yeah,
for months. Hey,
Right.
not like a matter of days, months. And building into the third act, they discover under the carpet is a trapdoor. It's
Yeah,
like,
how
how
did
do
you
you not
not-
fucking see that?
how did you not check?
After 3 months.
Especially,
After 8 months.
no, do you know what's annoying is that Dakota Fanning's character arrives a lot later than how long everyone else has been there. So one of them has been there for like 2 months, another one's been there for like, I don't know, but they've been there longer than her. That's the point. How do you not check, like, hey, maybe there's something under the carpet?
Yes.
Or there's certain things.
What
as
else
well.
is in this one structure?
The one thing, Graham, that pisses me off about the movie is that
Let's
they-
make this the last thing.
Okay, I'm sorry. They introduce so many things that they don't go anywhere with. Right. So there's, at the beginning, me and Cole going, interesting. There were moments where Dakota Fanning's character was talking to men, and we didn't ever get shown
Their
the
face.
faces.
Right.
So me and Cole were like, okay, this is obviously has something to do with trauma, which I also, like Cole mentioned it in his letterbox, and it's so true. Like, not every horror movie, not every character needs trauma to create a compelling backstory, right?
Yeah.
And that's what this film falls in the trap of doing, is that, like, oh, she has to be traumatized, that's why she's the way she is. But they never really touch on that. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of there, and they're like, oh, she's traumatized. It kind of affected her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
okay, so her
And they never went anywhere with the faceless man thing at all. Like,
Right.
it didn't,
it was a sort of a weird little thing in the beginning.
I don't
you
know why they
it's
did
sort of
that.
but her mom had died.
Right.
Yeah.
And she sort of felt partly responsible because it was when she was a kid. But that
doesn't
that
really
actually
pay
play
off.
into the whole
It doesn't
thing.
pay
No.
off at all.
Where there are other movies where that relationship sits right at the core.
Yeah.
Right.
Where you've got an alien movie, but you actually have a father and daughter movie.
Exactly.
Or like,
yeah.
you know, when it becomes such a strong
Subtext.
device,
Yeah.
you actually have two movies in one. This
Yes.
wasn't that.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Would
think-
it?
yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Go for it. No.
Okay. Do you guys think it would have worked better as like a 45-minute, hour-long episode of something like
I
Black
think so.
Mirror, as
I think
opposed
so.
to like a 2-hour-long movie?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it still had problems. Even then, I think it'd still be a pretty, like, wasn't a great episode of Black Mirror. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And the thing is, it just showed that this is made by a very inexperienced filmmaker.
Right.
It's the craft is there, but the story shows that she's still trying to find her feet.
So this
you know
is
what
like
I mean?
Goro Miyazaki making Tales from Earthsea.
100%.
Okay.
100%. Nothing like her dad. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, so it's. I'd like to see what she does next. I genuinely would, and I would like to see her do something without. And I hate to say it, but without her dad in the picture,
Right.
because obviously, if you're going to be M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, there's a lot of weight attached to that.
Yes.
If you're the son of any great filmmaker or daughter or whatever. Like, you look at Sofia Coppola, right? She went and did a completely different route to her father film-wise. I mean, she made Virgin Suicides, which is a great debut. That's a fantastic debut. And then
Lost in Translation.
Lost in Translation is one of my favorite films of all time. You know,
me too.
So it's so good. That soundtrack, oh my god.
I bought it on vinyl recently.
Oh really?
Nice.
And the cover of the vinyl is her bum.
Oh,
the
that's
opening
yes,
scene.
I've seen it. Yeah, on the bed.
Yeah, where
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
got that sort of like almost see-through pink panties.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, but
Such a great
it's so
album cover.
hard to live up. I mean, look at Miyazaki's son.
Yeah.
He
Okay,
hasn't
so-
been able to live up to his father
Okay,
at all.
so you
because of it.
mentioned that, and I
Yes.
didn't know the reference. So-
Goro Miyazaki is Hayao Miyazaki's son.
Yeah, he's done 2 films.
3 films?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And have they been
think.
animated?
oh, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
No, they're all
Yeah, he did
animated.
the Angry Inch one as well.
Was it
Earwig and the Witch, which is
Earwig and the Witch. Yeah.
dreadful.
was it under Ghibli?
Yeah.
Was it
was it
released-
officially under
Yes.
Ghibli?
Yeah, no, it was a Ghibli movie.
It's their first
terrible.
like digital, like 3D
3D
animated film,
movie.
Okay.
and it looks weird.
He also did From Up on Poppy Hill, which is very good.
I like that one. That's the
Yes,
only one of his I
really
liked.
like, but that one was
Yeah.
written by Hayao Miyazaki,
Yeah.
which helps.
Tales from he did Tales from Earthsea.
Yeah, that
right?
was his first
I didn't
movie.
love that.
No, it's too
Um,
much for one. Like,
Yeah,
for one movie.
But yeah, it just sucks because
Sometimes
sorry.
you
He
can be
didn't-
a great executor.
Yeah.
It's very different to be the writer and visionary.
it's hard. Writing
Yes.
is hard.
It's a different story.
It's fucking
But
hard.
he didn't want to be an animation director. He was kind of
Okay,
like
fair
forced
enough.
into it.
You see, but that's the thing though, as well, when like Miyazaki was like retired, he's retired like 3 times
Yes.
now. He's like a rapper. He
Yeah.
retires and he comes back. But yeah, it's everyone's like, oh, who's going to be his heir? We don't need an heir.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
Miyazaki.
Why is that a thing?
Yeah, it's like you don't need it because it's Miyazaki.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
this
know?
is the man behind Spirited Away,
Yeah.
Howl's Moving Castle,
Yeah.
and of course
Yeah.
now recently The Boy and the Heron. Lovely. There is I'm just going to drop this little Easter egg, this little breadcrumb. There is going to be more anime at the Bioscope,
Oh.
more Ghibli at the Bioscope. I don't want to say much.
Throwbacks.
I don't want to say much more, but we're in talks
Yes.
about more screenings. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what it is and I'll cut it out?
I'll tell you afterwards. No, but there's the Boy and the Heron obviously opened up certain doors for conversation.
okay.
and more's coming in
With
through that door.
distributors.
Yeah,
Cool.
which is exciting.
Who's
That's
your
fine.
favorite Ghibli, Graham? Who's your favorite Ghibli director?
Oh, Miyazaki.
Really?
Yeah.
Are there others?
Yeah, mine
Yep.
is Isao Takahata.
I mean, dude.
He did Grave of the Fireflies,
Yes.
like the saddest movie ever.
Okay,
But also, like, his, like, all of his movies, none of his movies
Are the
resemble each other in any way.
That's what I love about him. So, like,
Such an interesting
Miyazaki, you
director.
can tell it's Miyazaki.
Yes.
You know?
I didn't know that there were others. Okay, so Ghibli
There's a bunch
is
of others.
Ghibli's a famous studio.
Yeah.
Tent-poled by these famous Miyazaki films.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't think there were other directors.
Yeah, no, there's a few. Okay, yeah. Okay, he did Tale of the Princess Kaguya.
Gorgeous
which is
film.
Holy
So
moly.
Takahata, he did like his films are all vastly different visually, tonally as well. So
Okay.
he did.
I remember watching Grave of the Fireflies
Yeah, see,
at
dude.
university. We did a short
hardcore.
Japanese course as
Yes.
part of film school,
Yeah.
and I really loved that. And Grave of the Fireflies was 2 little kids
Yeah.
sort of escaping
war
World War
movie,
II.
Yeah, if you've ever thought to yourself, I really want to watch a movie about children starving to death, but I can only consume it as a cute cartoon, I got news for you.
Yeah, you've got yourself a movie.
Do you know what's crazy? So that was released at the same time as My Neighbor Totoro.
Wow.
And because Grave of the Fireflies was so sad, they actually made it a double feature where My Neighbor Totoro played afterwards to cheer everyone up.
Yeah.
Because like what I love about My Neighbor Totoro is it's mostly it feels like it's like a fantasy slice of life movie, you know. So it's you after bawling your eyes out
Yes.
of Grave of the Fireflies, you can be like, at least they're happy, you know. But he did Kiki's Delivery. Oh no, he didn't do Kiki's. That was Miyazaki.
Yeah, that was Miyazaki. He did
Love
Only
that film.
Yesterday, which is very good.
Only Yesterday, I think, is my favorite Ghibli film.
It's very good.
It's so good, and the English
Only
dub is good
Yesterday.
as well.
Okay,
But
you see, I'm still wading in the shallow end. I haven't
Yeah.
I haven't gone further than Miyazaki and in the Studio Ghibli films.
I obsessively collect all the Ghibli films, so I've got all them on Blu-ray. And I'm excited for Boy and the Heron, the first 4K, and I'm so excited, man. Oh, it's gonna be sick. Anyway, sorry, man. I wanted to get.
But he also did, like, talking about how different his films are. He did Pompoko.
I know exactly. Also, one thing I also love about
bonkers
Ghibli
movie.
films is their themes always takes place within nature,
Yes.
and the themes always somehow revert to that. Especially Miyazaki.
Yeah.
Like, so good.
Yeah.
Lovely.
They age like fine wine. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Speaking of heartwarming,
Yeah.
needing something after all the chaos and sadness of the world, we took great joy in watching a film called Military Wives on Showmax over the weekend.
Okay.
It's a British film.
Hmm.
The BBC and the Brits don't make a lot of movies, or as much as the Americans, but when they do them well.
Yeah.
So the British know heartwarming. They can do heartwarming very well because they can do self-deprecating very well.
Yeah, so true.
So they get that done well. It stars Kristen Scott Thomas.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Say that right. And it is set in a sort of small town close to an army base. It's in a modern setting. It's like now.
Yeah.
I think this film came out in 2019.
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah, I
2019.
double checked, yeah.
And so these are all the women whose partners are in the British Army. And it's set over the course of one deployment where they go to Afghanistan, I believe.
Mm.
And these women are tasked with coming up with activities to keep the wives and partners distracted, really, more than anything else. And it's suggested that they start a choir,
Okay.
that they sing and they start a choir. And it's inspired by the true life story of a particular base that had these women start the first military wives choir.
Right.
Okay, that's cool.
It's great. It's for themselves.
Yeah.
It's a story about loss, because obviously over the course of this deployment, one of them had to lose at least one
Yes.
of their partners to, really inject the sort of spirit of what they were doing and the power of the movie. It's a great. There's two women in particular that are the sort of natural leaders
Yeah.
of this group.
Right.
And what's really smart about it is that they have opposing approaches to life, to what they're doing, how one goes about doing this sort of thing. And then you sort of come to realize that the best version is actually the two of them together.
Okay.
The one is perhaps too casual, the other one's perhaps too stringent,
Yeah.
but they make a good team. But it's that
Sounds
kooky
wholesome. Yeah.
ensemble comedy, where there's there's the one that has got lots of passion but can't sing.
Yeah,
Right.
I get you.
And then the other one who's quiet but has this beautiful voice, and
Yeah.
the one that's just there just to have fun, and the other one that's there. It's great.
It seems like it makes sense that it's from the director of the Full Monty.
I was
Okay.
literally about to say, so it's like Full Monty for
Yes.
chicks.
interesting.
actually.
no, that's a great way to put it. No,
Yeah,
and
Full
of course
Monty
that
is for chicks, I
I didn't know that. Who is that director?
Oh my lord, what's his name?
Okay, but it's
Peter Cataneo.
okay. No, it's
What else
great.
did he do?
The Full Monty, The Rocker. I don't know what that is. Something called Loved Up, and other stuff I've never heard of.
Okay.
Didn't they do a Full Monty sequel recently? I think
There
they
was a
did.
Full Monty TV show.
Yes.
Oh, sick.
Where they
yes,
where they
yeah.
got back to the same characters who are now just a little more older.
Yeah,
Yes.
grizzled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it's got that sort of
Awesome.
little bit of Sister Act magic
Oh,
I
to it.
love
Okay.
Sister Act, yeah.
In the fact that I've realized that I'm warm and gooey when it comes to
Yeah.
musicals and singing.
yeah,
Spot the kid that went to art school
yeah.
and
Theatre
performance.
kid,
Yeah,
yeah.
I am a bit of a theatre kid, even though I didn't ever actually do much performing, but I was in and around.
Yeah.
I was theatre kid adjacent
You should
by being a film kid.
Next time you see Kira, you should talk about musical theatre because she is obsessed.
No, I've
Right.
always
Yeah.
loved it. I've always appreciated it. And sometimes you don't know. You don't know until it gets unlocked. And I hadn't thought about it until we were like, yeah, sure, let's watch Greatest Showman. And then about 30 seconds as it starts,
Like,
just this lump just appears in my throat, and I go like, oh God. And I was like, I am going to be inches away from crying for the next 2
that
hours.
was your Ratatouille moment with the
Yeah.
mean critic
Yeah.
has the meal and he's like, oh, back
My
to his childhood.
childhood.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I was raised on that. That's what took me on my journey to being a performer.
Right.
You know, the
Yeah.
fact that I've always been in bands,
Yeah.
and those bands have progressively, thankfully, like grown in each.
What's the name of that
incarnation.
band again?
Which one?
Oh, well,
Which-
all of them.
What?
I'm
He's trying to plug your
I'm
band.
trying to plug you.
Oh, Short Straw.
Okay, cool. What's
Thank
that again? SHORTSTRAW, Short Straw.
That's it. That's it. No, but you can see where those come from. We've all, you know, often when we are interviewing guests, the question is always like, you know, did you put on performances for your family
Yeah.
after dinner? You know, and there were some kids that did and some that didn't.
Yeah.
Ones that did usually have ended up in some form of media, producing or performing, and then there's others that wouldn't have dreamt of it, and they don't do that with their lives.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, did you put on performances?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, I was a very, I had a weird childhood. I was like shy.
Mm.
Yeah, I was a shy kid, and then like high school, I was like pretty like I think I got along with everyone.
Yeah.
I was like a bit outgoing. I'm back to hermit mode now, but like yeah,
I referred to myself once as hermit lust
yeah,
instead of hashtag wanderlust.
yeah.
There was a point just before the pandemic. There was a point where I was like, I've got way too much. You know, I have to do too much out in the open with lots of
Yes.
people, with the band, and with
Yeah,
the
you're forced to
bioscope.
do it. Yeah,
And I was like, I can just go
Chill.
live in a little cabin
yeah.
for a bit. And then after about 2 weeks of the pandemic, I was like, oh my God, I'm an extrovert. I need people.
Yeah, no,
Like,
100%.
Jesus, my
Like-
battery's running low. But
Yeah, it's crazy how COVID, the pandemic, even my friends who are like aggressively introverts, like they were like, oh fuck people and the people the worst, and
yeah.
one of them was literally was like, oh during the pandemic when it was like lockdown and stuff, she's like, I actually miss accidentally brushing my arm up against a stranger at a grocery store. Like I need that thrill again,
Oh my God.
And this person was like, I miss people, and it's true. Like you need
sure.
people. Connection is so important,
No.
That brings me to what I've been watching. I watched this one a while ago, and I wanted to bring it up, but I always forget. But I watched a new show on Netflix that could be a good substitute for people who miss Squid Game, right?
Okay.
And it's a Korean show, and I love social experiment dramas or thrillers, right? So
Okay.
Right.
Squid Game, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
This show's called The 8 Show, and it's on Netflix.
The what show?
The 8 Show.
Right.
Eight.
So the number 8 show.
Okay.
It is fucking crazy.
Like fiction or
It's
non-fiction?
fiction. So
Okay. So scripted show.
it's
Yeah.
a scripted show, big budget. It's got that Korean flair, the humor. It's got, the weirdness.
Yeah, what is the Korean flair?
So, like, the Korean new wave, you go look at guys like Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook in particular. They did Old Boy, Parasite, all
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
movies. They all have a specific kind of weird humor, like
Yes.
a undertone to them, especially Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah.
Well, I've always found it interesting that different nations have vastly different
Yeah.
humor. They find things like
Yeah.
French humor is different. American
Yeah.
humor is its own thing.
Mm.
Everyone's
Yeah.
got a different flavor
So, like,
of humor.
even
okay.
in Squid Game, it had that like weird humorous undertone,
Yes.
but like overshadowed by a lot of fucked up shit
Yeah,
happening,
yeah.
right? So like the 8 Show is about there's 8. Okay, back of the box, right? So it follows 8 people, mainly one guy, but basically he's down on his luck. He is 900 million. I think it's one is their currency in debt, which is the equivalent of about like $650,000, right? US
Okay.
dollars. So he's deeply in debt. He owes loan sharks. He got bamboozled by a like investor. He pumped all his money into. So he's spending his whole life trying to pay off this debt. Then one day, as he's about to kill himself, he gets a message saying 1 million won has been deposited into your account. And then every time he gets a message, 1 million's been deposited. A limo rocks up and is like, get in the car, you'll get more. There's an opportunity. So he gets in this car, he goes to this place, and it's this giant warehouse, red carpet, empty theater. Gets to a table, there are 8 cards. 3 of them are missing. It's like 1, 4, whatever, right? So he picks a number, and then he eventually goes into a big room, like a big warehouse, where there's like slides and a pool and like rooms and stuff. And there's 8 levels, there's 8 rooms, and he picked room number 3. And he finds out there are other people there with him, 8 other contestants. And basically the whole premise of the show is that depending on what floor you're on, you earn a certain amount of money per minute, right?
Okay.
But
What do you have to do?
that's the thing though. So there's you earn per minute in your room, and you can purchase things, but it will cost you 100 times more than what it actually is, right?
Okay.
And then out in the warehouse, there's a timer, and whatever you buy in the warehouse, you take time away from your game. If the clock reaches 0, the game's over. If someone dies, the game's over. So basically, these guys, depending on their situations, they need to stay as long as possible so they can accumulate their money, spend as less as possible, whatever, right? And they are provided with food and water throughout the show.
Okay.
And the movie becomes a fucking phenomenal...
Is it a show or a movie?
It's a show, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
It's 8 episodes, and it becomes a really, really dense like observation of capitalism, the class system, structure, like stuff like that. And it is just... It gets to the point where I do feel it's 2 episodes or an episode or 2 too long.
Okay.
But it gets progressively more fucked up. Like it's really well done, and it's a mini series as far as I know.
Yeah, so it's nice that it's got a beginning and an end.
It's got a beginning and end. And I remember we were talking a while ago about the show Solitary, where these people were just locked up in a room, and you know they don't know when you quit and stuff like that. And it's just a really cool show. If you want to fill your Squid Game absence, it's a great show. It's a lot darker. It's not as enjoyable as Squid Game in terms of fun factor, but it's really, really fucking interesting. And that leads me to another documentary I watched called The Contestant.
Yes.
Have you heard of this?
No. Yes.
So it on Hulu. Hulu usually their releases bleed into our Disney.
Yeah, I was about to say this is the Japanese sort of real life Truman Show thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
fucking insane.
It's come up recently because this documentary has come out.
Yeah,
that there was this show that happened in Japan.
Okay.
And this is the documentary about this particular show and the character of this reality TV show.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and looking back on it now, and sometimes you need 10, 15 years to sort of tell the story of what exactly happened. But tell the story.
So I'll be quick. But like, so Graham, this show, right? It's the main guy. He was a comedian, and he won like a lottery to be on this show, right? Okay. And it was like a prank show initially, and the creator of the show was like, I want to do something different. And basically, you come on the show, but you are locked in a room with no clothes and only magazines. Okay. Right? And basically you're given, so you got only these magazines and a stack of postcards. And basically the whole premise is he can only leave if he's won 1 million yen in prizes from these magazines that he's earned from them. So he gets fed basics because eventually they would just feed him like crackers because they don't want him to starve to death. But like it took him like 3 weeks to finally win a competition, and he would spend all day writing to these places because he wants to leave, right?
So the timestamp on this is that it was like pre-internet.
Yeah, pre-internet, so and it changed reality TV forever because...
So this was a real show that millions of Japanese watched.
Okay.
And he...
didn't know about it.
Had no idea that he was being watched.
By that many
people. It's literally the real life Truman Show.
Yes.
Yeah. So he thought, because I did some research afterwards, he thought that eventually when all the footage was gathered, they would release like a little episode.
Right.
But he had no idea that eventually they would stream for 24/7 his life.
Jeez, like.
And it's crazy because he was not allowed to wear like clothes or anything. And after the whole experience, it lasted 15 months.
Yeah, see.
Yeah. And eventually, like getting out into the real world, like he couldn't wear clothes because it made him feel overly sweaty because he was used
Yes.
to not being.
But he
clothed.
wasn't naked in the show.
He was. Yeah.
Kalkhat.
Yeah. They actually live. They would have a little sensor on his crotch.
Yeah.
They actually had a joystick following him. Guys watching for 24 hours following him.
Jeez,
So
It's
have you
nuts.
seen this documentary?
Yeah, it's
Okay, so the documentary is called The Contestant, which is the story of this show and this guy.
Yeah, it's so upsetting because of what he went through, man. And like the guy who created the show is an absolute arsehole. And like it's it's really
Well, it's great
eye-opening.
that this is what's so lovely is that these stories are being told, especially if there was a sort of fucked up thing happening or like what? How did we pull that off? How did that get made?
How did that get made? It's nuts.
And-
Like
But millions of people in Japan
Jeez.
watch this show.
bonkers.
Yeah, that is
It's
weird.
insane.
But the Japanese, we've
Dude,
touched on it every
Japanese
now and
game
again. But the
shows-
Japanese are weird when it comes to that, and there's a weird intensity to it.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Sorry,
Yeah.
Graham. What have
Okay.
you been watching?
No, but those are good.
Yeah.
So the 8 show, which is on Netflix,
Yeah.
and then the contestant.
So that's on Hulu, so I have a VPN, but
Okay.
I can't find it on Disney, but I suspect it'll come soon because all the Hulu releases like bleed into our
Yes.
Disney.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What have you been enjoying, Graham?
Oh, yes. Okay, I forgot about that. So I've been watching The Acolyte, which just started.
Mhm.
The
It
new
is on
Star
Disney.
Wars
It's
show.
a new Star Wars show. I'll tell you what I like about it first, and then I'll tell you what I don't like about it. The basic premise of the show is quite cool. We did speak about it last week. Basically, there is a person who looks just like another person who's also in the show. There's 2 people who look the same.
Okay.
One of them is a former Jedi who's now left the Order for whatever reason. They haven't told us why yet. And there's another one who presumably is related to her who is killing Jedi.
Okay. And this is also
This is set-
Skywalker.
It's 100 years before.
100 years, yeah. And
Yeah.
at the beginning of the
Okay.
show, it says 100 years before, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
So this is a long,
For the
long
Empire,
time
yeah.
ago in
Yes.
the galaxy far away.
Yeah.
Exactly. But not just any Jedi. She's killing 4 specific Jedi
Yeah.
that she's trying to hunt him down and kill.
Okay.
They haven't told us why yet.
Okay.
2 episodes have been released so far. So, that premise is cool. I like that. I also like the way... So, a lot of Star Wars that is set... They do this a lot with Star Wars where they go, oh, this is 100 years ago. This is 1,000 years ago, blah, blah, blah. But it all looks the same.
Yeah.
All the, robots look the same and the spaceships look the same and blah, blah, blah. This show, they haven't, done that.
Yeah.
The spaceships all look different. The robots all look
Yeah,
different.
it
Everything
feels
looks
different.
obviously
Yeah,
older,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They've designed things so that it feels a lot older, which makes a lot of sense. Those are the 2 things that I like about the show. The problem with a lot of modern Star Wars that I have with it is the writers seem to have attended the George Lucas School of Writing,
Which is what?
which is bad writing. If
I love
the
those,
first
yeah.
person who will tell you that George Lucas's dialogue is bad is George Lucas.
Yeah.
Even he's like, I'm not good at writing dialogue. But everyone references A New Hope, trying to figure out how they should write Star Wars.
But that
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
him,
true.
hey?
No, it was. He
Well,
wrote A
he
New
wrote
Hope.
that,
Yes.
okay.
And his dialogue is weird and cumbersome, and it doesn't sound the way people talk.
Awkward, yeah.
There's loads of interviews with the actors saying it's so hard to deliver this dialogue
Yeah.
because it's just not how people speak.
Mm.
And that's the way a lot of modern
What do you
Star
mean?
Wars is
Don't you
written.
hate sand? It gets everywhere.
He says it's rough and it's coarse and it's get everywhere, and I want to go, Anakin, rough and coarse mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Fucking shut up. So yeah, that really affects the show in the sense that the writing is just weird and awkward, and you can tell the actors are struggling to deliver this dialogue, so the performances are really bad. Have you been watching it as well?
I have.
Okay.
So
What do you think?
I like it's intriguing. I
Yes.
dig the premise. It's really cool. I like the look of it because also I've been craving for Star Wars that takes place outside of the fucking Skywalker realm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give me something new. Give me something that's unrelated to.
Well, you've got literally a you've got the whole galaxies to play with.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly, right? So like it's exciting to me that they're doing something like that, even though I would have preferred something way in the distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
100 years is a long time ago, but like I want like fucking
Yeah, sure.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, Old Republic.
Yeah,
Like, that's like
stuff
1,000
that.
years ago.
Yeah, that'd be like sick to see. So it's cool that they're challenging themselves by giving us a Star Wars that like looks noticeably different in terms of retroness.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, my problem with a lot of new Star Wars shows is that I feel like they do a lot of setup, and then by the time things start happening, like legitimately interesting stuff, there's like 2 episodes left. And
Yes.
I'm like, come on, like,
Yeah.
give it to me quick. You know?
Yeah, this is an interesting time for Star Wars, right?
Mm.
Because it's been decades of
Yeah.
it existing,
Yeah.
and now through the medium of TV, through the fact that it's gotten owned by Disney,
Yeah.
it's got the resources to expand.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
there were always books and things like that along that either
Yeah,
became
comic
or
books,
taken away, but now you've got the opportunity to really like blast open
Yes.
this universe, and a lot of people are saying that it's difficult because what you loved was it was easier to love 3 movies,
Yeah.
then it was a little harder to love 6,
Yeah.
then it was difficult to take in 9, and now that's just fucking way too much.
But-
And that it's
yeah.
quite hard to speak of love when there's just so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, this is so true. Like the people who hate Star Wars more than anyone else are Star Wars fans.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's always been a bit weird for me on the outside to see because I
Yeah.
couldn't care. But
Yes.
I see that happening, and it's because you love something so dearly. But
Yeah.
there's so much that's now come out, and there's so much on its way.
But it's wild as well, because I mean, you often see it's that cycle. I'm sure you've seen it as well,
Yeah.
where any new Star Wars material, a lot of Star Wars fans hate for no reason at all, and then suddenly 5-6 years later they start defending it with their lives.
Yes.
You know, like it was the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Hated it. Everyone hated it. Now suddenly they're like, "Oh, Phantom Menace is great," and I love
Yes.
how Cole's like, "It's still not great.
Yes.
it's not a
never
good
great.
movie."
But that's nothing new. I read something the other day. It was a letter
yeah.
from 1980
Okay.
written by a Star Wars fan magazine.
Okay.
That was self-published by these people,
Yeah.
saying that we're going to stop publishing this now because Empire Strikes Back is too far away from what we want from Star Wars.
Bro,
Yeah.
it's the that
Yeah,
and
but-
Rogue One are my favorite Star Wars.
But you could literally take the exact letter that they wrote and replace
100%.
Empire Strikes Back with The Last Jedi.
exactly,
And it would be exactly what people are saying now.
100%.
But then,
Yeah,
so here's
Nothing's changed
here's
in
the
40
answer.
years.
so true.
is that it's not all people.
Mm.
You know,
Yes.
you always, when faced with something new, will have your issues,
Yeah,
and perhaps at the time, the criticism of just say like episode 1, 2, and 3, perhaps the criticism was from people who had a nostalgic love for 4, 5, and 6.
yeah,
But now, years later, I can definitely see that the people who were raised on 1, 2, and 3
yeah. It's gonna be
Yeah.
different every
look
time.
back on
yeah.
it and treasure it. You know,
Yes.
in the review mirror, things look very different.
Yeah,
You know, one
yeah.
of the dawning things for me in the last week was something Graeme said about we remember Fury Road as being this like smash hit.
yeah,
And so that's why in everyone's head, Furiosa was going to smash.
Yeah.
And we watched it and loved it. So for many people,
so
it is a
disappointing
good movie.
that
But
it's bombing.
worldwide, it's flopped. And you
Yeah.
go, why?
Yeah, why the fuck?
Why? Because it's a great movie and Fury Road was awesome. And that's
Mm.
when you realize, like, no, the world wasn't ready for Fury Road.
Yeah.
Begin
Then
with, yeah,
it did okay, but we look back on it now and we love it.
yeah.
Yes.
But it wasn't the
It's
smash hit that that
Yeah.
we thought it was. So we perhaps shouldn't have bankrolled and given as much money to
Yeah.
Furiosa. Furiosa should have also come out like a little bit of a smaller indie,
I think
you know, crazy art project as opposed to like
Yeah.
a tent pole for Memorial
yeah,
Day.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
think
you were setting this thing up
do you know
to fail.
Yeah, do you know what it is as well? It's the whole vibe of people. What's the word when they look back and reevaluate, reassessment, right? So, first Star Wars film, most critics hated it. They thought it was childish and they thought it was a kids' movie.
Yeah.
And even the cast, I mean, Mark Hamill,
They didn't know what they were
they
doing.
thought it was a kids' movie. Like, they're like, this is silly nonsense. And I know Alec Guinness, it changed Mark Hamill's mind when, like, he was chatting to Alec Guinness. And he was like, oh, this movie's so silly. It's a kid's movie. And Alec Guinness is like, what are you talking about? We get to play space wizards
Yes.
in a galaxy far, far away. That's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that changed his perspective. He's like, okay, cool. Because I know on A New Hope, George Lucas was notoriously a grumpy goose on that set.
Yeah.
And all Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill would cause chaos. Like, they would, like,
They were
play
the naughty
pranks on him.
kids
Yeah,
and
they were
stuff.
the naughty kids. Then when they realized what a hit it was, they were like, okay, there's something here. And then the perspective shifted where, like, critics were like, okay, it's a huge hit. And you look at the reassessment, you look at it now, Star Wars A New Hope is considered a classic film.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back, one of the greatest twists of all time.
Yeah.
You know, you rewatch that movie, it is so vastly different to New Hope as well, tonally and visually. And it's just fucking amazing.
Well,
you know?
yeah, what you're reminding me of, something that happened in my own life, was when we were in our probably later part of our 20s, we got asked as Short Straw to play a rage, Plet Rage. And it was just at that point where we thought, like, we're a bit old.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know whether we're right for, you know,
teenagers.
like a rage party.
Yeah.
Like, why would we do that?
Yeah.
And then our sound guy, bless him, no longer with us, Fabian, rest in peace, was smart to go, guys. He's like, if you smash it at Plet Rage, you are gonna make, and you are performing at like thousands of kids, like the greatest party of their life,
Yes.
their first party and holiday as adults. If you make an impression on them, they will be your fan for life.
100%. Yeah.
They will be with you for decades because they will always associate you with like the greatest holiday, you know, of their adult lives. And all of us just double took and were like, okay, let's do it. And we did like 4 or 5 of these
And
rages.
those kids will always be like, oh, fuck yeah, Short Story playing again. Let's go watch that.
And
you
they
know?
will always associate. And so like, you know, the certain kids that watched Star Wars at a certain time, you know, they were there for that.
Yeah.
And so that's the
It's
generation.
our generation as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Phantom Menace was your, like, ticket in, right?
I love the Phantom Menace.
That was
Same.
mine. That was mine.
Same, yeah. Like, I mean, I think we watched Phantom Menace, then we watched the first 3, the first original 3, and yeah, it's just we'll always look back on that. It'll be like, okay, they're not great films, but it was our way in for the bigger universe. You know what I mean? And we'll never forget that. Like you said, so many writers now look at the George Lucas New Hope way of writing, where they're like, oh, he set it up so beautifully here. That's what he's good at. He's good at story. He's great at story. He's just bad at dialogue.
Yes.
You know?
You know, I've got one other thing.
Cool.
Little departure, talking about good writing. On Apple TV Plus, a TV show called Trying.
Okay.
Season 3 has now started. It is the delightful, small, very well-written, very heartwarming story of a couple who want to adopt. I'm not giving much away now because we're in season 3, but season 1 was them just trying to qualify for adoption.
Right.
Season 2 was like securing the kids.
Oh, that's cool.
And now season 3 is like many years once having the kids.
Okay.
But it is so heartwarming. It is so fun. It is so well written. The characters are lovely. You exposed me to the name of the guy.
Oh, Rafe Spall.
Rafe, which is such an interesting name. But yeah,
Son of Timothy Spall, who's a
Oh,
famous British
yeah,
actor.
that makes sense. Yeah, okay.
you'll recognize old Rafe Spall. But yeah, also delightful ensemble, kooky fun characters. They live in Camden.
Right.
So it's very like sort of cool, hip neighborhood. And I love it because
Cool.
Lie to Me's come to an end, so you
Oh,
can
right.
hear me stop talking about it now. I see that got only 3 seasons. We were very much
Sucks.
expecting it to just carry on.
Oh,
In our
right.
heads, it was like, this is like a 10-season show.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, fuck, there's no more.
Yeah.
And then I thought maybe there's more elsewhere. Like,
Uh.
Disney only bought the first 3
Yeah,
seasons. I was like, oh, no, fuck. They
Yeah.
just ended it on that.
Did it end in a?
No, they were gearing up for the next season.
Oh.
I hate that. I prefer when shows.
But it's thankfully very episodic. So it's not
Okay.
like huge things were left.
Yes.
okay.
You could see they were going to perhaps venture into a new territory, which they obviously didn't get to.
Yeah.
But hey, it's good, solid 3 seasons, man.
Good, man. Yeah, I prefer when shows have a beginning. Like, even if you're going to do multiple seasons, I prefer when each season wraps up.
Yeah.
Like, it's a beginning
yes.
and an end, and if
Yeah.
it doesn't come back, that could be the ending.
Yeah.
you know?
But trying is great. It just really gets to the
Sounds
core
good, yeah.
of like what it means to be a parent, what it means to be in love, what it means
Right.
to be married, son, father.
Yeah.
Everything gets explored, and yeah, just the way that the characters sort of talk to each other.
Yeah,
and
totally.
just how they, conflict happens, but it's never too disastrous. But it's lovely.
It sounds good, man.
Trying.
Cool.
Very delightful. Is there anything else, guys? I think it's worth mentioning what's just popped up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hitman is on Netflix.
Ah.
Yes.
I
And I-
rewatched
and I-
it this
and I just
weekend.
love to see it in number 1.
Yeah,
I
I
love to
rewatched
see it getting so praised. We spoke about it back in episode 111.
Yeah.
It had a very brief cinema window, but it was never about cinema. It was always destined for Netflix,
Yeah.
and
Such a bummer.
it's such a great film. So that is a solid pick. Netflix
Good date movie.
has Hitman. Watch
Oh.
watch Hitman. I see Everything Everywhere All at Once has finally come to streaming in South
Yeah.
Africa.
Oh, crazy.
We were speaking about it for months. This is the film that collected pretty much all the Oscars
Yeah.
about 2 Oscars ago.
Yeah, it was like 6 Oscars, 9 Oscars. How many did it win? I
But,
think it was like
but
6.
I mean, it was the biggies. It was
Yeah.
best film. It was best.
Yeah, won all the
actress,
major,
best,
most of the
you know.
major awards. Yeah.
So that is on Netflix. There's good stuff now.
Yeah.
You still haven't asked me what my because we're still going through
Still
our
going
4
through
loves.
Parents, 4 loves.
Oh wow.
Sorry, I'm taking the attention. Ask me about things. No,
What-
yeah.
Okay, let's just recap. What did we say was Puppy Love?
Puppy Love was Hook.
Yeah, good.
The high school era
Yeah.
was Taxi Driver, and I was like, I'm not a fucking incel. I'm not an incel,
Okay.
Yeah, that was Taxi Driver, and I don't know what the third puppy
the
thing is.
third one is It's Getting Serious, which is like the Varsity era.
Okay. Ooh, it's getting serious.
You've demanded this, but you haven't even thought it through.
Yeah, because I didn't know the categories, man. Come on.
Don't you listen to the show?
Well, I didn't listen to those shows.
Well, this is what was interesting about us breaking the episodes up.
Yeah.
To be able to see who's listening to the Clerks chat and
I
who's
get
listening
you, I
to the
get
guest
you.
chat.
Okay, so it's getting serious.
While you're thinking about it,
Yeah.
I want to tell you about a concept that's coming to the Bioscope, which
Ooh.
we are going to try on the public holiday that's observed
Youth Day.
on Monday.
Yeah.
We are going to do a screening of a film. The film is less relevant,
Yeah.
Right.
but we're going to put the lights on over the seats so that people can knit and crochet and cross stitch and craft in the cinema.
Right.
This random person, and shout out to this absolute stranger who forwarded me this video of it
Just
being
looking
done
at
in
the
another cinema
Right.
somewhere
Yeah.
in the world, let's say London or New York or
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like, we could totally do that.
Yes.
And so I've got friends, and shout out to the lovely Sarah Rogans, who's linked to the studio that the band is always rehearsing at. And she once made a comment. She said, I often don't go to the cinema because I can't knit there. She's a young, 30-year-old that knits. But there's people that, like that's making such a huge comeback, like the artisanal making of it.
Right.
And also through my mom, funny enough, there's a woman who gets people like my mom to knit a square.
Okay.
You can do it however you want, but it's got to be a particular dimension square. And you've got to give this woman your squares, and she will assemble them into blankets.
Oh yeah.
And
My
she's
mom
got
used to do
this
that as well.
charity that makes these blankets for young moms.
That's very cool.
So like
Okay.
with Youth Day,
Oh, that's lovely.
with
yeah.
the fucking cold, if there's not something that you're currently working on, you can come to the screening. We're going to call it Knit In Cinema.
Amazing. What's all the movies?
Yeah, we're going to think about the movies, but I want to do like
wholesome movies.
fun. You
Yeah,
know.
like
So the first one I thought to do, because I looked around as to what's available on streaming platforms and
Yeah.
what isn't. I want to do She's All That
Okay.
because it's not on any platforms in
Yeah.
South Africa,
Okay.
and we all remember that. And,
She's all that.
yeah,
Wow.
good old Freddie Prinze.
He vanished, jeepers. Like I remember he was the heartthrob, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. She's all that. Is that the one where she takes off her glasses and she's hot?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's the kiss me as she comes down.
yes. Down the
stairs.
stairs. Yeah.
All right, lekker guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for a lovely day.
Yeah. Oh shit. Oh
Yeah.
no. Should I save that answer for next week? Next time.
Yeah. Well, did you have one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Well, what is it?
Barton Fink by the Coen Brothers.
Interesting.
Right.
So
Okay.
the reason why I'm saying that is so the Coens are one of my favorite like filmmakers,
Yes.
and it's a bit cheesy to say this because one of Graeme will know this as well. We hated there was always student films about writer's block all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And that's like a cardinal rule is don't make a movie about writer's block, especially early in your career.
Especially if because you obviously are having writer's
Yeah,
block.
So
Yeah.
Barton Fink like really spoke to me, you know. And back of the box, Barton Fink is John Turturro. He is a hotshot playwright. He gets hired. It's set in like 1930s golden era Hollywood.
Yeah.
He gets hired to write a wrestling picture,
Right.
and he knows nothing about wrestling. And he's like, I'm not gonna how am I gonna do this? So he moves to LA and he just struggles to write this picture. But he's staying at this hotel where his next door neighbor is John Goodman, who's fucking insane. And they kind of start helping each other. John Goodman's like a traveling door-to-door salesman, and he starts helping John Turturro get the script together.
Right.
And it's typical dark Coen Brothers humor, wit.
Okay.
Things get spiral out of control, and a lot of my style writing and stuff is always attributed to the Coen Brothers. I love how
Right.
they
Yeah, these are the
observe
people who
life.
brought you Fargo,
No
and,
Country for Old Men,
and
Yeah.
you know, we were talking a little earlier about, you know, great ideas, bad execution or bad writing. The Coen Brothers just speak so well,
Yeah.
and they write
Lebowski, yeah.
dialogue so well. Where
they are amongst my favorite dialogue writers.
Yeah.
yeah, The Big Lebowski is a
Funny.
perfect example
So
of how
funny.
you can have three people having a discussion that's frustrating and it circles around
This is what
each
you
other.
get when you fuck a stranger in the ass. Did you know the airplane dub for that was
Yeah.
"This is what you get when you meet a stranger in the Alps."
Oh, really?
That's what they changed his dialogue.
Oh,
to.
that's funny. But it's
But,
so
yeah.
frustrating, and it's
Yeah.
like the way that they miss each other and talk
Yeah.
and miss each other, and funny. I've got a little present for you. I've got Barton Fink. I've got the screenplay
No
on the
ways.
shelf outside
cool.
Really?
in the gift shop of
That's
the
so
bioscope.
sick.
Yeah, I look out for those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that could be a really cool thing to just read it written.
Yeah, it's it's in my opinion one of the most underrated Coen Brothers films.
Yeah,
it's
there's-
so good.
We screened it a long time ago at the bioscope. We did a little Coen Brothers, you know,
It
the
actu-
sort of deep cuts, and we
Yeah.
did Barton Fink, and we
Nice.
did Hutsucker Proxy.
Miller's Crossing, probably Blood Simple. Oh, fuck,
Yeah,
I love them.
yeah.
But fun fact before we go, Barton Fink is one of the few. I think it might be one of the few of the only Cannes film to win Best Film, Palme d'Or, Best Actor, and Best Director.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know
Anyway.
it was such a sort of festival favorite.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lovely, guys. Thank you.
Cool.
And thanks for listening. Our home base is thevideostore.co.za. And as I said, we do have ourselves a different kind of episode, the kind of episode that a person like Perrin doesn't listen to. But many people do. And it's
I'm sorry, I'm just the worst.
and that's the guest episode, and that's going to be on Thursday. And as we said, the guys from the universe on stage are going to pop in to rent something. We're using the return mechanism more and more. And so now with the new guest episodes that we do, one of the first things I'm doing when we record is I say, okay, well, you've walked into the video store. What are you returning?
Right.
And that's a chance to talk about what they're currently watching. It's a
Okay,
nice
cool.
little device.
Okay.
Then we go through the films that they've loved, and it ends with me trying to recommend a film.
Nice.
So we've got a nice little structure to that. Hope you give that a listen. But otherwise, yeah, next Tuesday would be another Clerks Chat like this. So
Nice.
we are here for you. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.